totally happy for you to be there, but they're waiting to see us. But anyway, having this has got all the relevant numbers on it, know your rights thing. It's a great conversation starter. I walked up to her and I said, hey, hi, my name's Andrea. I'm with Berkeley Copwatch. I just wanted to give you this card. This is a little thing to help you know your rights when you are, if you ever have an interaction with the police. It's got some phone numbers on the back, who to call if you find yourself in a problem. Have you ever had a problem with the police? Have you ever had a, and boom, now I'm starting to, I want to get her to talk and find out, and let's just recruit. Let's get some other people in there. And I want to say, wow, well, if you're that interested, tell you what, we're actually going to be showing this movie. It's called These Streets Are Watching, and it's it trains folks about what to do if you get stopped by the police, and also shows how different communities are responding to police misconduct. Have a little event that doesn't commit them to anything yet. Let them get to know you. Let them get to know your objectives and so forth. But
they get emotionally attached, and then they act on that.
Yeah. And so, at least they start to know where you're coming from, and that's a big help. So recruitment. Make sure that you've got a plan for getting new people. One of the things that, go ahead.
Well, and just like really practically with those cards and with recruitment, the way Winnipeg Copwatch works is we have a community liaison that goes with every patrol. And so that person's job is to talk to people, hand them know your rights cards, or if we're actually filming something, to explain to the person getting arrested or anybody watching exactly why we're there, and that we're not like with the cops, because we get confused for being with the cops a lot. And so I think that's a really good way to recruit, because you're handing out cards and you're saying, this is who we are and this is what we're doing, and we're doing it right now. And we've got, you can see our back patches and you can see the cameras in our hands, and this is what it looks like. And so if you join us, you can be talking to the next person that is you right now.
Very good, yes.
So it better than having it just abstract and just saying we do this thing, but them not really knowing what it looks like.
Right. Very good, yeah. Yeah, each cop watching shift, and how many of you guys have actually done patrols? How many of you have actually gone out seeking to witness interactions? There's different ways of doing it. You can do walking shifts. Walking shifts tend to be more outreachy. They're really good. On the one hand, you're not going to get to a lot of stops because you're walking. How many of you ever used a scanner to try to? Okay. So, do you guys know what a scanner is? For about $200-300. I mean, US, whatever.
They have it free online too now. Free online.
Huh?
They have it free online now too. There's a station in Winnipeg you can just listen all day for free.
Sweet. Okay.
Yeah, they got one in Seattle too.
Bam! So there's just like a little app that you use, and you can just listen in to the
website. Just go to it. It's there. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I want to encourage you. What we're talking about is that. Remember how like if somebody calls the cops and says, "Oh my God, I think there's a burglar in the back of the house." Well, there's a dispatcher there. Like, all right, we're going to send a couple of police over there. And so if you're listening to that and you hear the locations, you go, oh, well, come on, let's go to that location. And you want to show up there. So instead of just randomly walking around going, oh, I wonder where the red and blue lights are, which, that's not totally bad, but it's kind of, and again, it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're doing a shift where your main thing, like, I want to recruit people, I want to talk to people, you don't need a scanner. But sometimes you also want to show people how effective cop watching can be. So if you have a scanner, you show up and you're right there when it's going down, then people say, wow, you guys, this actually has some potential to do. But, yeah, you guys feel free to bust in on that. Anyone else? Go ahead.
You just reminded me of the circumstances where he's somewhere in the middle of the night. Doesn't matter what the incident was. Is it within a cop's right to say to me, because I was concerned with what I was seeing, and maybe said something like, what's going on? And the policeman, in his worldview, he's like, just go on with your business, like, leave me alone. Is he within his right to say that?
Winnipeg, what do you say?
The cops can say whatever they want.
Basically.
Like they can't, like you were just observing them arresting somebody?
Yeah, I mean, the person was, let's say the person was extremely upset. It was the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And it even became a case, in particular what I'm recalling, is the woman is like, I can't believe this is happening to me. Like, they were going to take her. They were going to take her. And it's like, just on my way to whatever. Like, you were hearing her. And she could have been lying. But the point was just at that instant in time, if I had just been a person walking on the street and it had been anybody dealing with that woman, I would have been right there with these people, like, well, what are you doing to this woman? Is she okay? You know, but this person's like, no, just go away. I'm the police,
Yeah.
and just by right, I know what I'm doing. And this was just an incident where I'm sort of going, I'm not so sure about that.
And-
But the inference was, is if I got close, it's like, well, we could arrest you too.
Yeah, they can't arrest you for being close to an arrest. Like, you have the right to stand there, observe anything that's going on. You don't have the right.
But they do.
What, if I can interject one thing, the thing to understand with inalienable rights is once you understand them clearly, they cannot be taken or given, they can be exercised or not. So if you choose to take his suggestion and leave, you're choosing not to exercise your inalienable rights, and they will never tell you what they are, which is why it's so important to know them so you understand when they are violating them, and that's just education, which is why we're all here, and then our society has some stuff online for free as well, if you want. I'm not trying to plug our society, it's just education and just know your rights.
But
Know
actually,
your
and
rights.
I'm not going to waste too much more time here, but the one thing that gets me in particular to do with police, and I guess I'm just kind of involved with this, not planning to be, so much of this phrase, if you said it, domestic violence, it's almost like, or it's a domestic dispute, and it's almost like if there were a couple people walking down the street, someone over their shoulder said, oh, it's just a domestic dispute, we go back to our lives. There's this idea that, well, it's domestic dispute, like, so nobody can really solve this, and I'm like, you know, so somebody can be killing somebody all in the name of unrelated to you, or something like that, and you just go about your business. It's like,
Unless you're committing a crime, no one can tell you to go anywhere.
But there's,
They will, but you don't have to listen.
yeah, but
Go ahead.
there's risk to that. So,
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're right, sorry.
Well, I'm sorry, were you gonna? No.
well, sorry.
Go ahead, yeah.
I don't know, because I mean, we want to hear about this. In Toronto, they will arrest you. They'll punch you in the head,
Yep.
they'll arrest you, they'll take you out.
For,
Doesn't matter.
for our society, we have a fee schedule. If they act unlawfully, I don't sign their paperwork. My society delivers a fee schedule, $10,000 an hour, and they're personally liable. I can take that police officer's house personally. I don't have to beat the system or file charges. Yes, you can, yes, you
Well, tell you
can.
what, it sounds like a good conversation.
We'll have it
You guys
after,
wanna-
please, for sure.
Go ahead.
I think you're in the middle of telling us how you guys react here.
Sure.
Sorry. I just like to hear.
Yeah, so you definitely have the right, and you should communicate with the person who's getting arrested as much as you can, and the police can't stop you from doing that, or they shouldn't. We try to, if we have cards always with us on patrols, we try to give them directly to the person getting arrested and say, you know, read this in the back of the squad car, or read this right now, or like hand it to the person getting arrested and hand it to the police officer who's arresting them, and letting them know that these are this person's rights. And if the cop asks the person a question saying, what are you doing here? We can say to that person and the police officer, hey, they don't have to answer your question, and hey, you don't have to answer that question. And that you have the right to film. They can tell you to back up like 10 or 15 feet, but you have the right to be there. And, you know, but it's not always easy. Like, we've had people, there was a weird incident where there was someone pulled over in their car, and there was about 8 squad cars there, and we didn't know why. They took the person out of their car, and we just sort of saw them walking and being put in the cruiser, and then we showed up, and we handed a card to an officer and said, hey, could you give this to the guy in the back seat? And he looked at it and threw it on the ground. But then the guy just got out of the car and went back to his car after 8 squad cars were there. It was like, well, it was a big enough deal to bring 8 squad cars. Why is this person just being let go?
Yeah.
So it might have had something to do with us being there. But so yeah, that's what basically be there as like know what the rights that the person has being arrested, because they probably won't, and try to inform both the police officer and the person getting arrested what their rights are in that situation.
Good.
And also, like, you know, there is your personal safety too, because if an officer is getting like super aggressive and threatening to arrest you because you're standing there, like that is a very real, it happens, you know. So at that point, like, you make your own decision about whether you want to risk that by staying there or like, you know.
I think that's the one thing to kind of keep in mind. I forget what it was, somebody was making a comment about TV police. That was maybe it. Yeah, TV police are the concept of what TV police are. Like, that's what the way they're supposed to be. And maybe if nothing else, that might be a good education strategy to let people know that that cop on TV is not the person that's dealing with you at 2 a.m. when you're a little drunk. And that even worries me a little bit, just as another subject. It's the after dark. Like, I've been around after dark, and it's just a different world, and it's a different kind of place, and it's a different, like, you must be an animal.
Can I, just in the spirit of folks, I just want to kind of be thinking organizationally, keep us sort of on that track a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I'm interested in making sure that we respond to some of those things that people brought up. But I agree that, and I think a tactics conversation is a useful conversation about how to deal with some of these situations. Some people were asking, I think it came up a few times, what is the difference between a sustainable Copwatch and a Copwatch project? I would say that the main thing is relationship. You know, what's the difference between a fling and a commitment? You know,
Yeah.
It's what you're willing to invest in it. So, Copwatch where you are. You know, like you don't need to go to somebody else's community. You kind of Copwatch where you are. And, you know, trainings and educations, all that's good, but do you have a commitment to where you are? If you're going to move in a year, then don't, you know, then maybe your Copwatch ain't going to last 1 year. You know, if you're willing to make an indefinite commitment, then, you know, and like white activists say, well, gosh, you know, we try to attract people of color and they just don't seem to show up. They just don't come to our group. And I'm hopeful that people have some theories about why that happens. You know, that it's like, well, we've got things set up the way we like it. You know, you can come if you want. You know, we'd love to have you be part of what we've got going, right? And yet, you know, there's lots of great energy and intention and consciousness on the part of a lot of white activists who want to do right. And what I would recommend in that situation is just formal partnerships with people of color organizations. You know, it's like you know, you can't, it's really freaking difficult to, you know, change the culture if you've already established a group and you're primarily, you know, white. It's just, you don't know all the things that you do that are cultural practices. You know, even the way you conduct your meetings or the way you do whatever you do. So it feels fair to me that you could write a letter or go and make a visit and say, you know, I'd really love to sit down with you guys. I know that there's been a lot of, it must be really painful for you. There was just a police shooting in there. We'd love to sit down with you and discuss ways that we could partner on a project. And if we successfully partner on this one project, we could really show up and you could really start to trust us. And you could really see that we're willing to learn from your group, and we're willing to learn about your neighborhood, and we're willing to be changed by what we learned from being in this experience with you. You know, and that, I think, you know, people, I don't know, but people will respect that. You know, nobody's going to say, you know, nobody's going to put you down for that.